I'm Jeffrey and I do mortgages. This is Carlos. He does not do mortgages, and he would be a first-time home buyer. And so he's gonna ask me questions, or I'm gonna ask you questions. And I'm gonna try to teach him stuff. Like, what are closing costs? Do you know what closing costs are?
I do not know.
Have you heard you haven't heard of them or nothing?
No, I'm not too sure what they are or what it is.
When you think of buying a home, you know you got to put just down payment, or like when you think buying a home, what do you think in terms of like what's coming out of your pocket?
I mean, all I've really heard from people that have bought a house or people that are buying a house. Me personally, it's just really been like a big topic has really been just the down payment. I don't really know what else comes with it, but I know coming up with the money for the down payment is a big thing. So other than that, I don't really know anything else. So.
So your down payment, I guess we can start with the down payments. So you got your down payments, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you got closing costs on top of that. And your closing costs could be like another 2 to 5% of the loan amount.
So those two things are two separate things?
Yeah, they're two separate things.
Okay, yeah.
So let's just take a $300,000 house, and you're gonna put 3% down. That's $9,000, right? So you gotta come out of pocket $9,000 for a $300,000 house. I'm gonna write that in case I forget. All right.
That's at 3%?
No. We're not even talking
Oh.
interest rates. We're just, yeah, 3% down payment. Yeah. 3% down payment.
And that varies depending on...
Right. It could be, like I said, if you want your standard 20% down, that'll get rid of the PMI, which is a private mortgage insurance. So private mortgage insurance is an extra cost on top of your payment, right? So you have your payment, which is I'm going all over the place, but let me just keep it focused because I'm gonna lose you. So we're not even gonna get into that. So 3% down, right? On a $300,000 house would be $9,000. So that's just your down payment. You still have closing costs though. And like I said, your closing costs are gonna be like another 2 to 5% of the loan amount pretty much. So the closing costs are gonna be all like your fees, like your appraisal fees, your inspection fees, the lender fees, the title company, escrow, all that adds up. Let's just say it's 3% of your closing costs. 3% is your closing cost. Let's just say that. So which is gonna match that pretty much. So you'd have to come up with another $9,000 for closing costs. So even though it's a 3% down, you would still have to come out of pocket $18,000. So even though it's 3% down, because you have closing costs.
Are the closing costs always the same as what's it called? The down payment?
No. I would just say that for this example.
Okay.
So like it could be different. Like this could be $12,000, or it could be lower. It could be $8,000, just for example. But there's ways to reduce your closing costs. So let's move on. Do you kind of understand what closing costs are?
Yeah.
Yeah. What are they?
The taxes, the I don't know, but
Oh, just taxes?
Well, just the other fees that come with taking care of the house.
Right. So so there's just fees that you're gonna have to pay. Like I was saying though, you don't always have to pay them. So your down payment, right? Unless you got a grant or down payment assistance, like you're gonna have to pay the down payment, right? Let's just say that. But your closing costs, they can get covered by the seller of the property, or you can get lender credit. So seller credit or lender credit. You don't know what those are though, right?
No, I don't. I'm guessing seller credit is the guy or the person.
Yeah, seller would be like the builder or the homeowner is selling the house. Yeah, they're the seller. And lender is whoever's giving you the loan. Right, so seller credit though, like builders right now are like advertising that they'll pay like $20,000 towards your closing costs or for upgrades or for stuff like that. And so when you have those, like you can use that to pay off your closing costs, or you can use it to buy down your rate. But before I get there, let me tell you what lender credit is. So seller credit pretty much, or seller concessions, if it's pretty much the same thing, but so if it was a like private seller selling the home, you could, when you're like making an offer, you can say you want 3% in seller concessions, right? Or maybe the seller is offering that, like when they're selling the home, they have also offering 5% or 3% in seller concessions. So that means that they're willing to help you with your closing costs or with buying down the rate. So that's them helping you, right? Or you are telling them like, or negotiating, right, that you want them to pay, you know, X amount of your closing costs, if you negotiate it. But, so that's where seller credit comes from the seller. Credit, like credit versus debit, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you get that part?
Mm.
Okay. A debit's like charging you, and then credit is like a credit to you. So lender credit, it's the same concept, right? Lender credit, you can also use to cover your closing costs. So lender credit pretty much is, you don't know what buying down your rate is, right? When you have you heard someone say they can buy down their rate or anything?
Honestly, no, man. I'm not too familiar with any of this.
So so buying down your rate. So let's say you apply for a loan, and rates right now they're higher than they were before, right? So they're like at, let's just say 6.5%.
Mm-hmm.
So your rate here is 6.5%. If you were to pay 1% in points, which is 1% of the loan amount, you can pay that to reduce the rate. So let's just say in this example, if you were to pay 1% of $3,000, which would be $3,000. So if you pay $3,000, let's say they'll drop the rate by 0.5%. So it can be 6%, right?
Mm.
You go from a 6.5 to a 6% if you pay 1% in a discount point, right? A discount point. You could do the opposite. So just how you can buy down the rate, there's the opposite, which is a lender credit, which means if you take a higher rate, they'll pay you essentially. They'll give you money. Like the opposite, right? You give them money, they lower the rate. You get a higher rate, they give you money. So then, in this case then, you have the options of going 6.5%, it costs you nothing. That's called the par rate, it costs you nothing. You could pay 1% and it'll be 6% instead of 6.5. Or you can get them to pay you 1%. So they'll give you $3,000, but you gotta take a 7% rate.
So what are the benefits of going up and coming down?
Of taking so the benefit of either one?
Yeah, like why would people go up in their credit just so they could get like money?
Right, so if you didn't say you had enough for your down payment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you want to save as much money as you want, as you can. So you rather not pay the closing costs. You rather have cash in hand than pay your closing costs, right? So if you take a higher rate, in this example, 7% will pay you 1%, right? Which is $3,000. You would take $3,000, and now what you did is, instead of having $9,000 in closing costs, you only have $6,000 in closing costs.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
So that's why you would take a higher rate, is if they're paying you for it,
Mm.
essentially, right? And so you would take that as lender credit and you can use it towards your closing costs.
Oh, okay.
So what I'm trying to explain is how, I'm gonna try to show you how we can like get the closing costs down to as little as possible, right?
Okay.
So let's say you took the 7%, right? They're gonna pay you 1%, $3,000, our closing costs went from $9,000 to $6,000. Where can you get the other $6,000 from? Well, if you negotiated on the contract on purchasing it, maybe you were able to get seller concessions.
What are some?
Say, as in, maybe you were able to get the seller to, say you paid full price, if they were asking for full price, you say, fine, I'll pay your asking price, but I want 3% of my closing costs covered by you. Right?
Oh, okay.
And so they say, okay, fine, and you guys
So-
sign a contract.
That's whenever you're negotiating,
Right. That'd be before. So ideally, you'd be wanting to get seller concessions up front, right? So that'd be your agent. You and your agent figure that you want to get a good agent that's going to be able to negotiate like a good deal, structure it well.
Okay.
But so let's just say you did get the seller concessions, and the seller said, fine, I'll pay you, let's just say 2%. Right? You're not even asking. That's a little bit. You just want 2%. You don't want 5 or 6%. You just want 2% covered.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they say, fine, okay. So 2% of that $300,000 is $6,000, right? So now you took the higher rate, you're getting $3,000 from the lender and lender credit. Now you're getting 2% from the seller. That's $6,000, right? Now those two credits are adding up to $9,000. And so we just covered the closing cost. We covered your closing, those are your expenses. The closing costs are your expenses, right? But we just got the lender and the seller to cover it for you. So you didn't even have to pay them.
Like no out of pocket.
Well, you still got your down payment. In this scenario, we were using a conventional loan,
Okay.
right? But now we eliminated your closing cost. So now instead of $18,000, we're at $9,000, right? Just a down payment. But let's say it wasn't a conventional loan. Let's say we were doing a FHA loan. FHA is going to require 3.5% down though.
Standard?
Yeah, that's the lowest FHA goes. Yeah, so conventional, you can go as low as 3% with certain product, Home Ready, Home Possible is what they're called. Or you can do the standard 3% or the 97% conventional. But, and then there's like different requirements for all of those, but essentially, yeah, 3% conventional is the lowest you can go. FHA is 3.5%. So that one's gonna be a little more, right? That's gonna be, if I can do math correctly, let's see, 10,500. I hope that's right. Well, let's just say it's 10,500.
That's around that neighborhood?
Around that neighborhood. I'm pretty sure it's right. So here we're gonna have a FHA loan, $10,500 down, and well, I guess we'll use a specific example. So I have a lender that offers a grant, which is pretty much a form of down payment assistance, right?
Mm-hmm.
A grant, you know what a grant is? Like in school, maybe you were good at soccer and you got a grant for...
That one,
For
grant
college.
is free money, right?
Right, money you're getting money and you're not obligated to pay it back. Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. I have a lender that offers a 2% grant or a 3.5% grant, right?